At 10:47 p.m., your phone lights up. You are standing in a train station with 6% battery, and your client has sent one sentence. Could you also add LinkedIn posts for the launch? You already know the answer. It is not a quick favor. It means new research, new writing, new approvals, and probably another round of revisions. But you type 2 words anyway. Sure, absolutely. That one answer can quietly erase the profit from a $5,000 project. Welcome to Nomad High Income Skills, Episode 1. I'm Aria Reyes. Today you'll learn exactly how to protect the profit inside a premium project so you can attract better clients and build sustainable high income. If a small revision has ever become a new page, if a quick question has turned into an hour-long strategy call, or if a client's urgency has quietly taken over your travel day, stay with me. We are going to build a simple Scope Firewall. The goal is not to become difficult. It is not to charge for every email or make a good client feel like they are walking through a maze. The goal is to make the finish line visible, recognize when the work has genuinely changed, and give both sides a fair choice about what happens next. Because many specialists do not lose money from weak skills. They lose it through unpriced extras. Think about the last project that felt heavier than the price suggested. The proposal looked profitable. The client seemed reasonable. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no single outrageous demand. Instead, the work expanded one harmless request at a time. A second audience, an extra meeting, a new platform, a faster turnaround. By the end, you earned the revenue, but you did not earn the margin. That is especially dangerous when you work across time zones. A client in New York sends feedback while your morning begins in Lisbon. A client in Los Angeles wants an answer while you are boarding a train in Mexico City. If there is no response window, no decision owner, and no agreed way to handle new requests, their urgency becomes your calendar, and slowly your freedom becomes permanent availability. Here is the first shift. Scope creep is usually a process design problem before it is a difficult client problem. Most clients are not thinking, how can I consume this person's profit today? They are trying to solve a business problem as new information appears. If your process does not show what is included, what needs clarification, and what changes the investment, they keep asking. Not because they are villains, because the map is missing. So let's create the map. Before you price the project, ask one question. Would a reasonable person know when this work is finished? If the answer is no, your scope may be describing your activities instead of the client's destination. 4 email sequences and 2 landing pages describes activities and deliverables. It is useful, but incomplete. A stronger version says, by the end of the engagement, the client will have an approved lead nurture system consisting of 4 email sequences, 2 landing pages, documented automation logic, and 1 handoff session for the internal team. Now there is a destination. The project is not just a pile of tasks. It has a finish line. Around that destination, make 6 things visible. Name the deliverables. Name the person who makes the final decision. State how many revision rounds are included. Set a response window, such as feedback within 3 business days. List meaningful exclusions, such as new channels, additional audience research, or implementation on another platform. Then state how new work will be handled. Not with a threat, with a sentence that keeps the relationship open. You can write, this investment covers the work required to reach the defined outcome. If the desired outcome expands, we will review the impact together and recommend the most efficient next option. Notice the language. Changes are welcome. Changes are also decisions. You are not promising unlimited labor. You are promising thoughtful support. Now, imagine the project is underway and a request arrives. Do not answer automatically. Sort it before you promise anything. There are 3 useful categories: included, clarification, and expansion. Included means the request fits the agreed outcome, deliverables, and revision allowance. Clarification means the client is answering a question, correcting an assumption, or giving information required to complete the original work. Clarification is part of good delivery. Do not turn ordinary communication into a meter running by the minute. Expansion is different. A request is probably an expansion if it changes the effort, the risk, or the outcome. Does it add a deliverable? Require a new platform? Create a new approval path? Produce a different business result? Here is the fastest test. If you had known about this request before pricing the project, would your fee, timeline, or staffing plan have changed? If yes, it deserves a new option. And be willing to correct yourself. Sometimes you will call something an expansion and then realize the confusion came from your own unclear brief. Maybe you failed to specify the audience, or your example created the wrong expectation. Fix it without drama. Honor the clarification, update the scope, and make the next version clearer. A scope firewall is not a weapon. It is a way to keep the agreement honest. When the request really is new work, use 4 moves: acknowledge, classify, offer, and pause. Here is what that sounds like. Thanks for flagging this. I can see why adding the webinar sequence would support the campaign. The current project covers the email and landing page system, so the webinar sequence would be an expansion. I can add it for $1,200 and 1 additional week, or we can keep the current launch plan and schedule it as a separate phase. Which option fits your priority? That response does 4 important things. It respects the request, it explains the category without accusation, it connects the added work to the client's goal, and it gives the client control over the trade-off. You are not saying no, you are saying yes, and here are the time and investment choices. The uncomfortable part is the pause. You send the option, and you wait for approval before starting the new work. Not after the draft is finished, not after you have spent your Saturday catching up, before production. If the client chooses to protect the original launch date, you keep the original scope. If they choose the expansion, you update the timeline and investment. Either way, the decision is visible. Let's follow that through one realistic project. Imagine you are in Medellin, delivering a $5,000 AI-assisted marketing system for a software company. The agreed work includes audience research, message strategy, a lead magnet, an email sequence, and a performance dashboard. You planned 4 focused workdays each week. Friday is for review, administration, and recovery. That schedule is part of how you deliver well. It is not a secret inconvenience. Halfway through, the client writes, "Could we also get LinkedIn posts for launch?" Then another message arrives. "Can you connect this to our second automation tool?" The next day, 3 department leaders ask for separate weekly meetings. Every request makes sense. That is what makes scope expansion so easy to miss. Nothing sounds unreasonable by itself. You look at the original agreement. No LinkedIn content, no second integration, no recurring advisory meetings. If you absorb all of it, the project may consume another 60 hours. Your effective rate drops. Your delivery quality suffers. The next month begins with fatigue instead of momentum. So you answer differently this time. Absolutely, we can evaluate LinkedIn for the launch. The current system covers the lead magnet, email sequence, and dashboard, so LinkedIn content would be an expansion. I can price it as a second phase or add it now with a 1-week extension. The automation connection needs a separate technical review because it may affect risk and testing. For meetings, we can use the included stakeholder workshop or set up a monthly advisory package with a defined number of calls. Which outcome matters most for this launch? That is a menu, not a wall. The client can keep the current scope and launch on time. They can add LinkedIn with a clear fee and date. They can approve a technical review before committing to the integration. They can choose structured advisory support instead of scattering meetings across your week. The relationship stays intact because the client is never surprised by a silent invoice or a missed deadline. A boundary only works if it survives Tuesday afternoon, so install it into your operating rhythm. Choose one request channel, a project board, a shared document, or one dedicated email thread. Tell the client where decisions belong. Set a weekly decision window when you review open questions and confirm priorities. You can still be responsive without being continuously reachable. Add revision checkpoints. Collect feedback at a defined stage instead of inviting scattered reactions to every draft. Ask the client to appoint one person to consolidate comments. One decision owner can save more time than another hour of production. And leave a capacity buffer. If every hour is sold, one normal surprise can destabilize the week. A buffer lets you handle genuine clarification without treating every question as a crisis. Your communication boundary can sound human. Try this. I review project decisions each weekday morning and respond within one business day. If something affects the launch date, please mark it urgent in the project channel so I can assess the trade-off. That is predictable and respectful. It tells the client how to get help, and it tells you when the work will receive your attention. Before your next proposal, create a one-page scope using this fill-in-the-blank format. By date, the client will have defined outcome. Included are deliverables. Name consolidates feedback and makes the final decision. Number revision rounds are included. Feedback arrives within response window. Anything involving meaningful exclusions is quoted separately. If the desired outcome expands, we will review the impact and recommend the next option. That single page does not need to sound like a legal document. It should align with your client agreement, and contract questions deserve qualified legal guidance. The page is an expectation-setting tool. Its job is to help a reasonable client understand what they are buying, how collaboration works, and what happens when the goal changes. Here is the whole system in 4 short phrases. Define the finish line, sort the request, price the expansion, protect the calendar. That is the Scope Firewall. It protects more than your fee. It protects your attention, your delivery quality, your client relationship, and the life your business is supposed to support. Your action for today is simple. Open one active proposal or project. Find the first sentence a reasonable person could interpret differently than you intend. Rewrite it as an outcome. Add the decision owner, revision limit, response window, and one meaningful exclusion. Then prepare your change order sentence before you need it. Do not wait until you are frustrated to design the boundary. If you want templates, examples, and guided implementation, explore the Nomad high-income skills courses. You will find practical training for premium positioning, proposals, client acquisition, pricing, AI-powered services, and sustainable scaling. The goal is not to squeeze more work into every hour. It is to build income that supports your lifestyle, not destroys your health. Charge what you're worth. Your skills are your freedom currency. That's your high-income blueprint for today. Take one action this week and start seeing results.